250,000 small business loan approvals or this alternative. One, perhaps you haven't heard of or have, but haven't taken any action on, or have, and it hasn't worked out. And I'll be thoroughly explaining why you've been declined, the chances of an approval, and so much more. Before I get into things, my name is Michael. Welcome in. I'm happy to have you here. I'm a business funding expert, a business loan broker expert, as well as a pre-underwriter/underwriter who's been able to help a lot of people get the right type of funding under the right strategic partnership and roadmap for longer term. The right service without over-promising, under-delivering. I do not overwhelm you or others, nobody. I don't pressure you at all. I'm very thoughtful. I'm a Libra, if that says anything. I'm very nice, very loyal, integrity galore. My family and friends will say very humble, responsible, accountable, punctual, disciplined, not just a business owner, but an actual entrepreneur. And I run multiple businesses. So I understand what it is like to go out there to get funding. I truly do, in your shoes. If you've been declined or haven't, and you don't know who to turn to and trust, on this side of things, it can be very chaotic, cutthroat. So you have to be careful who you share and give your information to. Even if it is just a soft pull, you just gave somebody data that either they send to a third-party marketplace or not, but they store that, gets lost or gets sent somewhere else. Now you're getting calls you don't want to be getting. I still have those and I don't answer, even to the emails. How did you get my information? Trigger leads off the credit bureaus, off you applying in the past to funding or not, to other things. So have a higher standard than just something average or below average. And I'm not here just to help you with funding. I truly do care more than just that. With your health, your relationships, your wisdom, and then your wealth. Who you are as a person matters to me first and foremost. People over profits. And I was in a Zoom webinar today, and I normally don't talk in them. I listen, and I'm working on the back end. That's why I don't, and I don't normally like speaking. I'm not a wordsmith. I'm very introverted, very calculated, more cerebral, the analytical type. I review bank statements, tax returns, credit reports just about every single day. The cash flow, profitability, reorganization of a business, the numbers, the metrics. I really thoroughly understand that. Very mathematically system-minded. And they were speaking to me, and I unmuted, and I said a few things. We got into conversation. Great topic and topics we went over, and just catching up on the industry and just gaining more knowledge and them gaining more knowledge from me. And it's a bad market, and it has been for a while. Things are getting over the hill right now, but there's a lot of things with banks, FDIC. You have SBA loans, the SBA EIDL loan right now, if you've been catching up on, not to get too deep into it, but everything with the collection process, nonprofits, a lot of fraudulent activity, the hardship accommodation plan, things that just came and they went, taxpayers getting their payments back and getting repayability and getting things dispersed equally. And there's just so much going on with that I don't want to consume this video on the EIDL loan, but just know that those are not available. They've been gone for years now. They've paused the applications on everything from the start, from the increase, the reconsideration stage and more. But a lot of things right now within deferment, there's the hardship accommodation plan and in the collections process to continue to resume that in collection of all total and the specific amounts that they're looking for in specific categories. But without going into a whole newscast on things, the $250,000 in a small business loan, there are different ways of looking at funding in this area that I'm in. And there are many services. You have things in credit, cash flow, collateral, liquidity, equity. Liquidity and equity are also meshed into some of these that I've helped out people with. And not everything is linear for you. You have to understand that just because you want a loan doesn't mean you'll get it. Doesn't mean that if you go get a bank loan now that you will never be able to apply for one again in the future, and vice versa. And so you have to also look at your alternatives. So many people right now are turning to the internet to ask themselves of who do I go get funding from, and just an entity, or are you also fixated on who the person is? If I ask each and every one of you right now, a lot of your guys' answer would be, what's the name of the company? How much is the fee? What are the costs associated? Without you knowing anything else, the benefits, the features, how it makes sense even to you. And the fees in those are usually not the problem. There's a bigger problem behind that you're masking, or that if you're being asked and you're not sharing. I get sometimes there's an embarrassment of not giving more information than you should. I understand that. I truly do. But the more you give me to help you, the more I have equipped to go to the right lender and to understand your uses of funds. And what you need to do right now, instead of always looking for another loan, if you already have one or you don't, is the reorganization of profits and cash flow in your existing business. It's EBITDA, earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. You also need to look at on a global scale, not just business revenue or business profits and cash flow. You need to look at every investment, financial, free investment, free cash flow. There's so many different areas you need to target in your business that you need to have it more structured. And what it comes down to is having a proper accounting services team, management, somebody that can oversee these things while you're working in your business. Or if you already have to hire in-house and you have somebody, great, but do they do the best at it? A lot of people, a lot of business owners are consumed in that, but then they end up letting go people because they didn't do it accurately. I've dealt with a lot of business owners who let go of their CPAs. Are they structurally sound in handling everything? Tax preparation, the accounting, the bookkeeping, the understanding of how to reorganize your profits, because that's what you need to look at internally before anything. Look at what has been shuffled in my business. What are the reasons why, internally and externally? Economic impact, inflation, rates. But it's not necessarily always the rates that are the issue. It's at a revenue and sales level, it's one thing, but don't just optimize for revenue and sales. You have to optimize for other key metrics in your business: lifetime gross profit value, cost per acquisition, customer acquisition costs, and what does that have to do with these other numbers to get to your ultimate goal? So a lot of what business owners are looking at right now is, how do I go get another loan to replace my current and my biggest problem? Lack of revenue, lack of sales. That could be fundamental in helping you, but there are other bigger issues that they're not solved on the foundational level. No matter how much you keep taking, you're just going to have to end up getting even more after that. Pay off another position, consolidate. It worked at one point with what you had, but doesn't no longer work. It's higher factor rates. There's a fee included, but you didn't mathematically understand how that number associated over a term, over a year. A lot of what you look at when you get fixed percentages or daily or weekly repayments, you really understand the true APR and the interest. And over the lifetime, not just the maturity, but over a course of a year, and then reverse engineer from that number backwards. And again, don't get fixated on the APR. What is the fee? What are the rates? What is the interest? What is the weekly repayment? That could make more sense because of how you're depositing. And if you can handle the payments, however you're depositing, how your existing cash flow looks like, and you project in your profitabilities, your equilibrium, where you will get to, there are a lot of mathematical formulas that I do in my own businesses as well as I help others. And so understanding the reorganization, the cash flow, the profitability injection with what you already do, you might have to focus on a specific revenue source that gives you more, that does better. Optimize for that. Optimize for your personnel. If each person in your business, how much do they generate? How much is it cost of labor? Production costs. How many machines do you have? What's the efficiency of each machine? What's the input versus the output? You understand all your key metrics, because if I go into a business and I understand it, which I've done, I'll look at it and give you pointers. Well, I didn't need an additional 10 to 15,000, did I? Okay, we could have used 5,000 and we could have used that to help you with your other debt first. And then the remaining of it, working capital. We have to clear this off the books if you ever want a better solution. But if you don't get funds, what are other ways? What are other key metrics? So what is the other opposing view? If it's not a 250,000 business loan through a bank, an SBA loan, if it's not a cash advance, if you've heard of those, if you use those with the benefit exceeding your repayment, and it makes sense. Sometimes you drift off and you can no longer use these, so you try to pay them back. I generally recommend no longer than 90 days. If you get a longer term and you can sustain the growth over a longer time horizon, then why not? Do it. But I would go ahead and get rid of those as soon as I can. Looking at the cost of funds, sometimes doesn't make sense to. There's a lot of factors and variables. Been there, done that myself, and I've also helped a lot of people get a lot of different options, everything. And so before that, I go to the comments and anything. And this is a spontaneous live, by the way. I didn't broadcast this out. You can watch this later on the replay. Also, let me know what you're currently facing, what your problems are. Down below in the description, if I have time, I'll also show you this on the screen. There's a questionnaire form you can fill out. You can also learn more about myself in time. And then just below it, I'll probably have a link to my story. You can watch about who I am. But I've been there. I understand the struggle. And I'll try to catch up on that at the end of this video if I have time. But fill out that questionnaire. Once it's filled out, I will then take the time to analyze and evaluate it and give you a proper email response with a PDF included, showing you your best funding option and options thoroughly broken down like nobody else's business, showing you information not even publicly released. And I mean business when it comes to this. I'm very efficient at what I do. And it's a big pet peeve of mine that I have my energy and time wasted. I'm very nice. I'm very loyal. You don't have to worry about with me. I give you the benefit of the doubt. I don't talk much. I put my brain to work. And so do that. I'll give you the information, and in that PDF, I'll guide you on where to look. And if I say page 8 is the application link, do that so I get it on the back end so I can review and or with the team as well. Or sometimes I'll ask for it up front. And like I was dealing with family not too long ago, my uncle and my aunt, they're looking for a loan for their building maintenance business. And there are a lot of others. And just giving them pointers, and they got a lot of, that's a good question. I went deep in with them. And there were still unanswered questions, some of it which was fine. Other ones were, you'll need an answer for that. And then I can help you with the rest. But collecting documents is another thing. If you can't get everything ready for a business loan, what are you going to do? Idle? PPP? Always a grant? All these other handouts, is that what you're looking for? Is that how you're going to live on your business? I'm also going to show you in this video, guys, if I have time at the end, if you wanted to start your own online business, which I've built many of, and guess what? I have a lot of people in trucking, construction, retail, restaurants, even people I've helped get loans in the past, advances, any other type of funding, and those that I haven't. People that are in medical, IT, you name it, e-commerce, Amazon FBA, they're doing what I'm doing. And you don't have to have your own product. You don't have to have even physical products. It can be a digital good with higher profit, higher gross and net margins. And I'll link that down below in the description. It'll be one of the first 2 or so links. You can check out the opportunity to join that I've been on. It's hot, and it will be for a while. And it's a system that you can use that I've been using for a while. And there's things on like cashback, savings, the rewards and referral program, which is great as a consumer, and as a business owner, you can share this with others. And it has a great incentive compensation plan, which is pretty cool. And I've been sharing that. If you got my email broadcast, you would have seen it. And if you've taken action on it, great. If you haven't and you're double thinking it, there's no room or no energy and time for any of that. There's nothing to double think. It has everything you want, all the value. If you were presented with it, it is in there. You're delaying the fear, you're delaying the belief. But once you have all the information aligned correctly and you know how to use it and putting it into action, like I did and many of us did when we first got started, you continue to do it. You show consistency in you, and you do it in your business, in yourself first and in your business. The sky's the limit. Possibilities are maximized from there on out. Here you go. You're good to go. But the alternative to this, let me get into it now. I know I spent a good amount of time, is the credit cards. So like I spoke to my aunt and uncle, who I'm very close with, and they're out in California, gave them a lot of pointers. And one of them was leaning into business credit cards. One of them was leaning into the business loan with a bank, with an SBA loan. They want to set their eyes on an SBA loan. It's going to be a little bit harder with their time in business, just being over 2 years. Adequate documentation that they can provide, but not just the adequate amount, it's the profitability, it's the cash flow analysis that I'll do when I have all that, the P&L, the balance sheet, hoping that everything looks good, that everything is reported accurately. They're not right. The thing is, you guys want to do a lot is write off a lot. I understand that. But when you try to look at what profitability shows and you look at all the other key metrics that I look at, it's very thin margins and very thin profitability. And it's a hard case to make to my SBA and bank term loan lenders. But because of who I know and what I know personally and on a business level, I've helped out people. in more ways and have delivered a lot more. But that's because of a big reputation that I have, and I'm very sincere with each one of them. I'm very punctual. They know how I am. Deliberate in what I do, in my messaging, not what always, but how. In my timing of things, I'm on it. Where other people delay things, I'm on it. If I were in your business and I was running everything, I would be the one putting each person in their place to make sure that everything was done effectively and efficient. And I would not be micro or macro managing, but I would make sure things get done appropriately. Check at the time that it needs to get done. And either one of you would have a doubt or a question in mind. And so, with that said, credit cards can help you levy or give you a leverage outside of just getting whether it's a 250K, 50, 25K, 350K, 500K and above small business loan through an SBA bank loan, or maybe an advance, or we go into private equity. We go into, that's now equity based, not debt financing, but we go into other scenarios. We can dive deeper into those, each and every single category on what it takes to qualify, but that's not the topic today. And I've created content on that in the past. I'll try to link it to you down below. So the alternative is getting 0% interest business credit cards specifically for 6 to 18, 6 to 24 plus months out. And can you always get a 20 to 24 month? Not like it was before. With certain banks, yes, one specifically, but now it's like they want to see you build that reputation and that repayment. And they also want you to hit specific goals. I'm not going to get into that. Each individual's case is different depending on how you use the funds, but they want to see more than just 6 to 12 months out, 6 to 18 months out using these funds, and then that can transfer into extended time and lowered APR. Another thing too, with most banks is just understand that most fees and rates are negotiable. So don't lose your opportunity to do that before, during, and after the 0% interest period, even with non-0% interest cards. Most small business loans that are given and driven by the banks, most of their personnel or some won't always look at the file thoroughly. You have to question who's looking at it at times. Some things go by the wayside, and you have to make sure that everything in your deposits and your loan, everything in interest, is being calculated correctly. So do your due diligence as a business owner or whoever handles the finances. Please take care of that. It's important. Business credit cards, 0% interest. I'm not going to start naming, well, you should go here, get GM Marcus, American Express, Bank of America, Chase Ink Card, which one specifically? I won't get into each one of them specifically right now in this video. I've created content on that in the past. If you've received my help on it, great. Not yet, videos I'll try to link you to below. If not, I'll share with this in time. Don't worry, I got your best interest at heart. Believe me, I am here for you as a person who's I can't even empathize how bad it is out there, guys. And who you guys are getting your advice and funding from. There are companies, like I was in the meeting today. I spoke with somebody that's like higher up there too, and he's seeing the same things, and he elaborated on my points. And people giving you bad advice on reps and things what you should do, going to the wrong company, but you guys don't value enough who the person is. Gerardo, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And those of you watching, just because I didn't say your name, I know who you are, and as a person and in business. Person first, business second. And I can tell who people are characteristically. It's all about improving your guys' vision, value, and mission in life. I have more than just how do you get funding. Well, the APR and the 300%, if we looked at it backwards, let me sit down and look at it over the next 6 to 12. I can do all that simply. I can give you all the numbers. I can put it in a package for you, even make it look better for you. But if you don't understand who the person is in front of you and you don't care about the person, you're going to not even care about the loyalty. You won't even think twice about it. And that right there, morals, that right there, virtues, I don't even want to work with people like that. And people have shown me their true colors. So I've seen that before. Energy and time efficiency, no friction, no resistance. And I don't cause that. People cause that themselves because of unpredictability. You're already working against the grain with humans. And so you're programming your thought about something. You have to change those. And it starts with you as the individual. That's what leads and seeps into a business. But business credit cards, 0% interest. These are very popular and very affordable, as you hear, 0%. Whether it's 6, 12, 18 months, you'll then best know how to use those funds correctly for real estate, for cashing out on property, for helping you pay down a percentage, helping you invest in your next property, anything rental, commercial, residential, business entity per se, vertical, horizontal builds, ground up construction project that then turns into a commercial property build, residential, you're building on a golf course. I can go on forever. Done a lot on the real estate side. I'm doing it a lot right now. And also on the working capital, growth, expansion, getting out of a tight pinch. The one thing, like I spoke to my aunt and uncle on, is I understood what all their funds are being applied to. And I know they have training. I know they have more certifications. I know they're going to need a contractor's license, to fulfill on. I know the numbers. I know everything about it now. And so me understanding like when their ROI is going to come into effect won't be until maybe 3 to 6 months out. So what are they doing in between that time if they were to get a small business loan with better repayments and have an additional working capital? So understanding where that's going into and what they're investing that into, equipment and more things, I have a better understanding of their repayability, understanding of what kind of margins they're going to have after they seep that through. What are they going to do to get into more materials and supplies and help their factoring company? And they pay this payment at this month and the first and then this day. It's a lot to understand and go through, and you make sure you understand your numbers, your ROI. Can you double, triple, quadruple, and what time, and what would that all look like overall, and the numbers, everything, service-based, membership-based, physical products, digital products. There are different ways of calculating the numbers on that, and what you do with your net and how that's allocated in different parts of your business. Cost of goods sold, cost of sales. Anyways, 0% interest business financing, getting at least 3 to 4 cards that help people, 2 to 3. It could be 3 to 5, sometimes 1 or 2, or even just 1, because a lot of the lenders would not want to assimilate or want to approve of. And the reasons why people don't get approved when they should have been approved for at least 3 cards with more as well, like why is there a lower limit than what was projected originally? Well, it has to do with things like certification of formation within your state, your articles of incorporation, your articles of organization. In other words, does it have everything appropriate to the state? Does it show us where it's registered? Does it show us where it can do business in? Is there a registered agent? What's the operating agreement look like? How about the EIN verification letter from the IRS that will be asked for? It is already no document or low document, you could say, but just verifying the business entity. How is somebody going to lend you on your behalf and help you put the applications together for you if this information is not provided? Woohoo! The bird is clocking in. So you have to understand that there's supplemental documentation that we will have, and the more we have, the better for you to make a better informed decision. So when it comes to getting these cards, whether it's a Chase Ink card and then later on after 30, 60, 90 days, we go in and get another one, we remove the inquiries and repeat the process because it's not supposed to be showing on your personal report unless you've defaulted, you've gone through issues. There's so much that we can get into on that end, but I won't. But yeah, that's how it can work. And if you needed 100,000, let's say, or even just 250,000, can we do it in business credit cards? Why do one when we can do multiple? If it doesn't work with the first round, it's the same thing when somebody says, I need 300,000, but they initially got 100,000 and they could get approved. They could get approved for more, or maybe not, but they start off at 100K. What are their uses of funds? Is it adequate enough for them to take that amount, to do enough with it, or do they need the full amount? What extra supplemental documentation would then need to be provided? So you have to reverse engineer from the end goal. What's your actual amount? What would be the outcome of taking that amount? How fast can you apply that amount? What would you be applying it to? Why, when, how? Go through every scenario. That's why I recommend you guys have this on paper. Write it. Put it on your Excel. Put it where you need to put it in your CRM as a reminder. Look at it as a calendar. Look at it as if you wake up and here are your goals. Here's a picture you took off of Google. I want to get fit like this, or I want to be this happy. I want to be on vacation. Treat it that way. And so that's what we need to look at and look backwards from that overall number. And that number changes with different investments, with different strategies of how you apply your funds. That number will change, believe me. But now you think about, okay, multiple cards. Even if I got a round of 75K, how will I be applying those funds? Now we cut off each section and we say this category will get 6% of this. This category will now get 15% of this. I'm shooting for at least 50% right now. And my margins are going to look like this, at least 5% margins. They're going to stay the same, or they're going to go up a little bit, a lot of overhead. Got to account for a lot. So then you start off with a little bit. The next round we come back, we get you an additional, if not more. Now you have these cards showing payment proof, showing use. Okay. But again, what it comes down to is when people get a reduction in the amount of what the range is projected is because is your EIN verification in good? Is everything good? Is there an issue? Why is there an issue? Where were things? Where did you get them from? Where was this? Was this a business that was passed over? Is this a H corporation? Guys, I've seen it all. And what you always think you'll get is not what you ultimately will receive now and also later on. Sometimes later on, you think because you took a little bit now and you get more later. That doesn't always work that way. It's supposed to. But what about payability? What about repayability? What about lowered modification with 1 to 2 weeks or more because you are not sustaining growth or you are in a troubled phase? You lost a lot of inventory. Inventory on your shelf is a huge cost. Now, getting it off your shelf predictably with new rotating inventory, oh man, forget it. That's a whole nother reason why we don't approve you for as much, or why the lender, when I go to them and I know everything because I'm working on the back end, it won't work in your best interest all the time. But does the benefit exceed the repayment? Well, the fees, no, not the fees on the debt restructuring. It wasn't the fees on the MCA or the hybrid advance. It wasn't any of that on the bank term loan. What the bigger issue is you do not have the appropriate plan or even a plan B. Or if you do, is it right? Is it good enough? So the qualifications for doing this, actually, before I get into that, so business credit cards, 0%. There's also, in terms of creative credit back funding, you can do a personal combo with a business combo. 0% interest or non-0%. Usually 0% is what we go for. A first round, usually we see in this market 20 to about 200K. I have seen less than 100K. It's become a lot harder, but you have to begin somewhere with stronger, I mean FICO, Experian, Equifax, TransUnion credit, not just the credit score itself, but the reports that I read a lot and or the team and I give you feedback on. That needs to look presentable. The balances, the aged history, usually over 2 to 4, 4+, 5+ years is what we're looking for a lot. Although you don't have to have that to start. It could be less. I'll get into the requirements. But it has to look better. It has to look cleaner. Not a thin credit profile. Not a lot of authorized user accounts where you got your credit from. No, you have a lot of authorized users. Like, I've seen it all. Missed payments, everything can derail something. But with that said, that's kind of the inside of the 20 to 200K, 20 to 100K range. I see a lot of, it can be less if you don't have enough business credit. We have to work on personal credit. We have to increase the organic threshold. I've done a lot of, but yeah, outside of that, it can go up higher. I'm not saying that one person couldn't get to 250K right away, but has happened. It's just you have the right credit profile. You work your way up that way. Credit requirements, if for 0%. I'm looking for under 40% utilization on each, not as a summation, not as an average, Mr. or Mrs. Each individual revolving, keyword revolving account. That's what I'm looking for. Under 30%, better. You're underneath 20%, we're rocking. Underneath 15%, under 10%, you're likely in the 800 club. If you're not doing that, it's okay. But under 40% utilization, and if you have everything else that I'm going to go into, but it's just due to high utilization on each, I didn't say average. I can look at those numbers and those factor in. I look at everything. I look at the whole thing. Don't you think I'm not looking at these things? Things don't just fly by me. I'm not the one you want to do that to. I'm the very, again, in my head, when I'm not here talking to you, I'm not talking. I'm working. And so that's one thing. No more than 4 inquiries, usually in the past 12 months. Ideally, no more. If you want to have the top tier banks, no more than 3 in the last 6 months. If we're looking at a personal loan, that's a little bit different. Sometimes it's no more than 6 inquiries in the last 3 months with a specific lender in an organization. But on this side of things, if you want the very best, this is how to look at it. You don't want to have more than 3 unsecured accounts open in the last 12 months, sometimes no more than 4. And this doesn't include auto loans and mortgages, like anything secured on that side. And that can apply to the 4, no more than 4 inquiries, also with the 3 unsecured accounts open. So be cautious of that. No late payments in the last 2 years. Be careful of deferments. Be careful of a lot of, even by a day. I had somebody not too long ago, and it keeps happening. oh, I missed my payment, or this isn't my reason why. Okay, I understand the reason, and that's great for me to know, and it is. But that you missed the payment, no matter if it was $1, if it was $50, it was even worse, 3,000. You missed the payment. Period. End of discussion. No excuse. Nope. I don't need that energy, time, and efficiency. Okay, being nice, very nice. And so let's just make sure we understand that, and you'll have all the information. I'll share this with you if I haven't yet. And so that's one thing. And no charge-offs, no bankruptcies at all showing on your credit report, period. Foreclosures, all this other stuff. So there's quite a bit. You normally want to have at least 2 open revolving accounts in good standing with at least 2 years of aged history, preferred. But there's an exception to that. You can have 1 open revolving, and I mean 1 open. I didn't say closed, but Michael, I just closed this. Should I close this account? That's a whole different topic we can get into. Credit repair, if you need that, I got you too. I have the very best. I've vetted. I have a great personal and business relationship with this gentleman. Amazing. I speak to him like almost daily. He texts me a lot. I text him a lot. Just to check up on things on a specific scenario that he's an expert in. I used to do credit repair stuff myself because I have to focus on other areas. I outsource it. But an amazing person. You'll know in time. British, out in California. Pretty cool guy. And very nice, very considerate, punctual, disciplined like I am. Entrepreneurial. So that's one thing. But 1 open revolving account with at least 2 years of an aged mortgage. Do you have that? That's what's being asked for. I'm asking for your Aunt Sally, your Uncle Jim. I tacked on this, and I gave them one, and I had to lose mine, and I had to close this account, but I had 4 showing the last 3 years, and that's one thing that is helpful. But you also have to understand there's other contingencies we have to look at. You can have 1 open revolving account at least as long as you have 2 years of an LLC, age history. And that's where complications can come into effect too, because of how it was formed, when it was formed. Was it taken over? Now you have accounts that you have yourself. There's so much that comes into it. But that's how it works. The processing fees to liquidating the cash out of these cards is important. And there are more details for qualification we can get into in time. But you can use a liquidator with a 5.5% liquidation fee. And they're basically invoicing you, and then they're wiring and Zelling you the amount. So that's it could be cost effective depending on the amount you get and where you're positioned in your business and can you afford to. And that's one that I strongly recommend. And it's liquidation up to 80%. And then you have things with like Melio and Plastique that can do sometimes up to 100%, but with the liquidator only up to 80%. And there's some contingencies with that in the liquidator costs. It can be likely up to 65% if your cards are not seasoned over 30 days. If it's seasoned over 30 days and you did that before, then we can add an additional 15%, or it's up to 80% originally if these cards are seasoned after 30 days or a card is seasoned after 30 days. So there's a bit of that. And then I'm just going to close up here on the process of how it works and how the process goes once you're on the inside. So once you get started by myself and the team to start stacking these cards or start looking at other types of funding, what happens is you'll come in and you'll have the results after our review. I'll share with you the results. It's usually through an email. And if there are things that you can choose or do to change things, I'll share that with you in the additional notes field. If there isn't anything you didn't qualify, or if you did, there's something else there. And then you'll come in and I'll connect you with the account manager that I have. And we'll know everything that's going on behind the scenes. I know everything that's going on too. If he's communicating with you, I know what's going on, CRM wise, and everything else being checked upon. So that'll be then submitted. I'll connect you with him, and then he'll give you the next steps. And this will likely be an online secure form that you'll be asked to fill out. You'll have then after that a secure online form with everything of your information usually is populated. Things with click sign that you can just put your signature in, very legitimate out there, click sign. And then once that is done, then that will then be reviewed, of course. And then there is usually a welcoming onboarding call, if not already done, or something with the underwriting, or if it's a different process with a different service. There's that with the creative credit back and the 0% interest cards. And then after that is done, the team will then put together the list. If I'm not there with them, or they're doing it themselves, which you'll see, they'll put that together. I'm still, again, behind the scenes understanding. And I know more or less the cards. I already know based on doing this for a long time, like what would then be the next best card? What would then be the third, the fourth? How do we go after it that way? So that'll be there. And then you can say if you wanted to approve it or not. It's up to you in that decision to do it. Cards can get issued within 2 to 3 weeks. That's how much time it takes. If you're looking for faster funding, small business loans, bank loans, those can take 7 to 14 days. In an approval, yes or no, within 2 to 3 days, sometimes less. But yeah, and then the SBA loans can take a longer time to get those dispersed funds. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys in this. There's a lot more to the process, but I can share things with you in time that, again, not others are sharing with you. Yes, and like Gerardo said, get your books together. And it's very important that you have that full part of your business done, get the books together, and make sure you guys understand the numbers, the metrics. It's very important in your business. But with that said, I think that's where I'm going to conclude. I can get into deeper topics on the credit card stacking and other types of credit back funding, anything credit, cash flow, collateral, liquidity, equity, and then some, but I will leave it right there for you. And again, all this information will be for you down below in the description. Oh, I didn't get into the actual share screen on this like I said I would, but let me present that to you right now. So right here is the questionnaire form that I spoke about that I'll link you to down below if you haven't filled it out. If you have, and I got back to you, that's one thing. And if I haven't, because I've been exhaustingly busy with a lot of emails and going back to other people's questionnaires, I will get back to you in time. But again, you're getting an expert, so the opportunity cost is there. And so you'll go through here, you'll see the page. Here are just some of the results that I've helped out companies with. There are many more. And then up here, you'll select from one of the 2 options that applies to you, plus get a free 6-step pre-approval funding and lending checklist, and 900 plus exclusive free grant documentation list is included. So I'll click on the non-startup business with 3+ months in business, and then get the funding your business needs fast. The questionnaire form here that I created for you. You go through all of this. It can be done very quickly, and it's very accurately done. It's helpful for me to understand. It's not an application. And again, I'm going to put this PDF and everything together for you based on customization for you and how to start all this. So you'll do that. You can even get started on a thank you page if possible, unless I change things. And you'll have like the credit cards you can go through and see if you qualify for that. And then I won't go into the other part of this, but I was going to say there is an online business you guys can start as well. And I'll link you to it down below in the description, and you can learn more about. There's a free tour, there's a video you can check up. You can start that system for free and lock in your position and move in front of a lot of other people that are joining, and it's going to help you. So again, that'll be down below, and this could be a way for you to inject that back into your current business or another one, or do this one on a side hustle, part-time, or even do it full-time. But yeah, that's what I'll leave you guys with. Appreciate you all. Thank you for joining me today. Once more, the information is down below in the description. And again, thank you for joining me, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Take care.